Hey guys, this is a redo video of SharePoint Foundation installation. So the last video I did for SharePoint, it wasn't too good of quality. I got some feedback on that. It was one of the earlier videos I did. I wanted to just redo it, give you a little bit better quality video, and also explore upgrading, doing an in-place upgrade from SQL Express to SQL Standard Edition. So the first thing we're going to do is start downloading the components for SharePoint Foundation. Before we get started there, I want to open up Server Manager, click on Local Server, and we want to turn off IE Enhanced Security Configuration for now. This will make it a lot easier to download the software we need. Alright, so this is a brand new Server 2012 installation. We just installed Server 2012 Data Center, and now we're going to go out and download SharePoint Foundation. Alright, so it's the first link here. We're going to go ahead and click download for SharePoint Foundation 2013. And it's a pretty big download. We'll want to save it to our desktop. It should download pretty quickly here. While that's working, I'm going to go ahead and download the SQL Management Studio. So it's the SQL Server 2008 R2 RTM Management Studio. And we want the 64-bit version. And we're going to save it to our desktop as well. Alright, so it looks like these downloads are going to take a little bit of time to complete. While they're downloading, I'm going to pause the video just to save us some time, and I'll resume after they've both downloaded. Alright, so our downloads have completed. Let's go ahead and click Run on SharePoint. Okay, the first thing we want to do is install the software prerequisites, so click on that option. And you can see here all the different features. It's going to install the .NET framework. It's going to install SQL Server 2008 R2. So let's go ahead and click Next. If you accept the terms, go ahead and accept them and hit Next. Okay, so this step takes a little bit of time. It's installing all the different features that you need for SharePoint. So we're probably going to pause the video and then come back after this step completes. Alright, so the installer just finished. Some of the installations were skipped because the computer has to be restarted before you can actually install those. So the web server role requires a restart. So go ahead and click Finish, and your server will reboot. It's going to take a little bit of time because it's installing all those features. Alright, so after we go ahead and log back in here, the installer is going to automatically resume where it left off. Alright, so now we're just waiting on these final installers to happen here, so I'm going to pause the video again. So our install is all completed successfully. We're going to go ahead and click finish. The machine's going to restart one more time. When it comes back up, we're going to log in and actually install SharePoint. Alright, so let's go ahead and log back in. Alright, so we see this error that some features may require additional optional prerequisites. So let's check this out here real quick. So this is basically additional hardware and software requirements. This, for Foundation, we're not going to run into any problems with that. So let's go ahead and click Finish, launch SharePoint again. Okay, now this time we're actually going to click on Install SharePoint. If you agree to the license terms, go ahead and click that, Continue. And in this demo, we're going to do the standalone. Alright, so the installation finished. Next we can do the configuration wizard. While that's coming up, I want to go back and talk about the web page that we pulled up a minute ago. This is under hardware. It gives you a good idea of what the minimum specs are. For the processor, it recommends at least 4 cores for a small deployment, and that would be users less than 1,000, and at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. I would recommend at least 16 gig of RAM, even if you're a small organization, because SQL is going to use up all the memory it can. And also, for every web application you create, it uses more memory for the IIS pools. So don't be real restrictive on the memory. You'll want to give it as much as you can. Alright, so back here on the configuration wizard, let's go ahead and click next. This is just telling us it's going to be restarting the services. Go ahead and tell it yes. So this wizard's not really going to ask us a lot. It's just going to create the databases, set up the web application, and we're going to restart it again after this gets finished. Alright, so you might have received a configuration failed message like I did. You can go ahead and click finish on that. Click on exit. Let's go ahead and give it a reboot. Okay, so in the Start menu, there's a couple of new things. Let's go ahead and scroll over to SharePoint 2013 Central Administration. That's going to open up the web browser. And after a few seconds, it's going to take a couple of seconds to get everything running for the first time. And this is the SharePoint administration site. While that's pulling up, I'm going to open a new tab and do HTTP localhost to see if it actually did put the default site out there for us. You're going to be asked for login credentials. This is going to be the local administrator account that we're already logged on as. Alright, so we've got into Central Administration. When you go to Web Application Management, you can see the two sites that we have. One is SharePoint 80, and we also have Central Administration. That's the one we're looking at now. The port number is unique to each installation. So here's our default port 80 site, and if you get prompted for a username and password, it is the Windows username and password that you're logged on with. Alright, so now we're going to install the SQL Management Console. Right now there's no limit set on the SharePoint Foundation site. However, there's a 10 gigabyte SQL Express limit. So we're going to look at how we can see how much size or how much space we're using in SharePoint, and then we're actually going to do an in-place upgrade to SQL Standard Edition. Okay, on your desktop, let's launch the SQL Management Studio installation that we downloaded earlier. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do new installation or add features to an existing installation. Okay, so on this screen, we're going to do new installation or add shared features. Go ahead and click Next. Okay, and then we're going to click the Management Tools Basic. Okay, so depending on your processor speed, this step could take a long time. The virtual machine we're on now has 16 cores and 32 gig of RAM, so it's fairly quick. since that install is finished, let's go ahead and click Start. And then you're going to notice a new icon called SQL Server Management Studio. Go ahead and click on it. When it comes up, your server name is going to be blank. In this field, type in localhost /SharePoint in all caps, that's SharePoint in all caps, then click Connect. Alright, so expand the Databases folder, and let's look at the WSS, that's Windows SharePoint Services content, and click on Properties. So right now the size is 33 megabytes. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of here, and let's go back to our home SharePoint site and click on the Documents folder. Okay, so after we've got the SQL Server Management Studio installed, we've seen how much space the current content database takes up. Now let's browse using our Windows 7 client or the computer you're using. And let's actually pull up SharePoint to upload some things and fill up that content database just to see what happens. So when you're connecting remotely, you want to put the computer name, or if you installed it on a domain, use those credentials. Okay, so we're logged in here. Let's click on our documents and let's go to Library and make it full screen here, but here's the option Open with Explorer. So once we do Open with Explorer, you're going to see a regular Windows Explorer folder here. Okay, so what we can do next is we can actually upload some documents to here, and we're going to fill it up to 10 gig. So that's going to take some time. So I'm going to get some documents going in here. We're going to copy them, fill it up to 10 gig, actually see what happens when SQL Server Express gets that 10 gig limit. And then we're going to upgrade from Express to Standard Edition. So hang tight. Okay, so now we're back. We're going to try to upload this file, and when we upload it, we're going to get an error saying basically that we're out of SQL storage space. So let's look at this error message. It's invalid, may refer to a non-existent file or folder, or refer to a valid file or folder that's not in the current web. When we check our SQL database usage, we're currently at 10,911.50 megabytes. So something you can do here is shrink the database by right-click, Task, Shrink Database. This will save a little bit of space, and you might be able to upload some more documents before having to upgrade to SQL Standard. So right now we're in the process of shrinking the database. Okay, after that's complete, let's go back and check this space again. So we have 10 to 340. Alright, so let's upload the file. Okay, we still don't have enough free space to upload it. Alright, so now what we're going to do is actually do an in-place SQL Express to SQL Standard Edition upgrade. Okay, so now we're going to continue the in-place upgrade. To do that, we want to insert the SQL CD-ROM. And I've already got that installed in the virtual machine. And it's drive letter D. So now we're going to go to Start, and we're going to open a command prompt as an administrator. Okay, then here we're going to change the drive letter to D. We're going to do setup /action equals edition upgrade /instance name, no spaces, all caps, equals, and this is going to be SharePoint. I'm going to show you where you can find that. Here in the SQL Management Studio, when you open it up, the instance is SharePoint in all caps. It's important to keep that. It's case sensitive. Then /PID equals, and then at this point you would put in your product key for SQL. And then press enter. So I'm going to pause the video and put in the actual product key, and then we'll resume it. Okay, so the correct product key's been in, and the software is going to launch here in just a second to start the installer. Alright, so it starts the roll check, and we're going to move this up just a little. Go ahead and click OK. I've skipped the product key page, and next we're going to accept the license terms. We're going to select the instance. Go ahead and click next. You can see it's SQL Express. The installer goes through one more roll check. Go ahead and click next. It's giving us an overview of what's going to happen during the upgrade. And then after just a few seconds, you'll be notified that the edition upgrade is complete. So go ahead and click close. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go back and try to upload a new file. So I have just a basic text file that we're going to upload to the document library. Alright, so now we added the document, and when we go back and look at our SQL Management Studio, we can see that it's SQL Server Standard Edition and the upgrade was complete.